G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tjoeng. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Eric Tjoeng from Business Growth and Exit Specialist, or BGES, and he's based in Sydney, Australia. Thanks for your time today, Eric.
Hi, Troy. Thanks for having me. I'm actually very excited with this podcast because I understand you have a lot of experience, expertise, and you love to help small, medium-sized businesses to grow. So I guess from that perspective, similarity of what we do. I hope if you don't mind, I might ask, some comments from you and pick your brain during this podcast. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got plenty of mistakes to share.
Likewise, trust me.
Let's start with how we know each other. So Arya from Boost Media Agency reached out, thought you'd be a great guest to come on the cast. So thanks for your time today.
Yes, thank you.
Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Yes, maybe should I start by giving you a bit of background, where and how do I get to where I am?
Yeah, that's the next question. So yeah, you can start with that, how you started out.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I love to study, Troy, and then just like you got, a couple of professional qualification. I started my Bachelor of Economics degree at Sydney University. Believe it or not, major in accounting. And then just like you, I did my graduate diploma in IT because obviously at that time, IT is the key growth area.
Yep.
And then I did my MBA and my Master of Arts and Business Research and business coaching sort of qualification. Interestingly, I actually started my professional career with Deloitte, the global top 4.
Oh yeah, I started at PwC, so we're arch enemies.
Yes, but we are not going to hit each other, are we?
No.
Yeah. So I just share with you briefly. It's an interesting story because at that time, the managing partner of Deloitte from the Parramatta office in Sydney actually went to my campus and talked to the dean. He said, I want to talk to the accounting graduate who's doing a postgraduate diploma in IT because they want to have people at that time called EDP auditing. and so I was one of them. The way I see it, it was quite sort of, how should I say, it's quite informal discussion with the managing partner, for half an hour. So I had a coffee, show me the office, some of the team members, had a quick chat at this and that. And then before I know it, he offered me a job. So I was actually quite, appreciative about that. That's how I started. And then I went to commerce and industry with all the blue chips company like Avis Australia, Jaguar Rover Australia, Hyundai, Audi, and Daimler Chrysler in Australia. Mm-hmm. And then I was with the general manager of 1.4 billion company in Australia.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah. And at that time, I think it was a light bulb moment because I actually had several friends running small, medium-sized businesses. Some of them in import and distribution, some of them in retail and hospitality. When I talked to them during dinner or gathering, I found that a lot of them facing a lot of challenging in running their businesses. And I thought, gee, okay, obviously something is not quite right in terms of what they do. I noticed they are actually very different from large corporations, resource poor and juggling so many balls at one go. I'm pretty sure, Troy, you can relate to that.
Yep.
and so I decided to join CAD Partners CFO On Call. At that time, they got 60 partners in Australia and New Zealand, focused on financial control services. I worked with them for 10 years, ended up as their joint CEO. And I won several awards there, Australian and New Zealand Partner of the Year, Best Performer of the Year, Marketer of the Year, Team Player, and some other award, which is great. Another light bulb moment, because we were focused on financial control, a lot of our clients were doing quite well, but not as well as it should be. So I'm actually, management consultant and business strategist. The way I see it is because a lot of SME tend to focus on key pain point. So what it means is that is very ad hoc, certain area of business, not very holistic. So I decided to form business growth and exit specialist in 2015 with several partners, and providing, fresh, innovative methodology, strategy, financial roadmap, and low-hanging fruit concept. So this where we are now.
Yep. And what year did you start BGES?
2015.
2015. So 7 years ago.
That's correct.
Yep. Great. Fantastic. And how old were you when you decided to start the business?
Actually, reasonably gray hair all around.
I don't think you've got more gray hair than me.
I think it was, what is it? 40 something. Yeah.
40 something. Yep. Great. Fantastic.
A lot of bullet wounds along the way.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And do you have any key numbers to illustrate the growth of the business over those 7 years?
Yeah, maybe the best way to think about it is, we started with several partners. In 7 years, we grew by 2 more partners, and we grew by 3 more team members, and our revenue has more than doubled.
Yep.
So for what we do, I think, I was quite happy with that because my strategy is a sustainable growth.
Yeah.
Rather than just rapid growth and uncontrollable growth. So yeah, that's where we are now.
And also this, I guess, the people side of things, you've managed big business before, and I'm guessing you don't want to go back to having a big team of people to have to be responsible for.
Yeah, you're 100% because, you and me know it, you've been involved with so many businesses. Once we form a business, our responsibility is to look after our team. Now, okay, we hire you today, business is not so good tomorrow, okay, I'll give you, 1 month notice, go to the job. That's not the way we think. We want to retain our partners and our team members. We want to nurture them and train them and grow. So you're 100% right. I mean, one of the things, is a sense of responsibility in terms of our team members and other stakeholders. Yeah.
Yeah. So how many full-time equivalents did you start with, and what number are you up to now?
When we started, equivalent to 6, and now equivalent to 10.
Great. Fantastic. Yeah. When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
Well, actually, that is a strange question. I'm not too sure where to start. Yeah. But the way we see it is that, when we actually can see we make a difference to our client life, big corporation, different challenges, they are talking about increasing their, share value, and obviously increasing the market share and business value, etc. But SME actually, a lot of their problem keep them awake at night. They can't pay the wages when they fall due. They can't pay the bill. They can't sleep at night. They give themselves the least pay, whatever left over, they give it to themselves. Sometimes they don't even give themselves super. So once we can, transform the business within short period of time, especially, from the cash flow and profitability, you can see the difference in the attitude, the stress level drop.
Yep.
And that's when we say, wow, okay, look, we have done it. Now they can pay the bill when they fall due. They got some money in the pocket. You can see that, a bit of life in their face, and they are more appreciative of their job as a business owner. That's where we see, we have achieved success along the way. And that is our key driver for our partners when they join us. I said, look, you need to have the passion to make a difference, because with all our partners, the background of big corporation, as you know, top talent always taken by corporation.
Yep.
And taking good money. But in SME, it's totally different ballgame. It's not money. You got to be in it as well, with a sense of, I guess, giving back to the community and the business community, of course.
Yes, yeah, no, I see a lot of that. Absolutely, small business owners in particular. As I say to people that don't have a mentor or think about getting a mentor, just find a business that you admire or you respect, or a business person that may have retired, and just ask them for an hour a month, take them out for a coffee or a lunch or a beer, and you're surprised how much time people are prepared to give because they want to share their journey and their mistakes, so that the person doesn't make the same mistakes and have the best chance of success.
100%. I can see you, the vice report for several organizations, and you do a lot of consulting and coaching for small businesses. And I think from that perspective, most probably you and me are quite similar in terms of, want to make a difference, with our knowledge and experience. That's why I thought, I thought I was quite excited to join the podcast and talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I get great joy out of like we've just gotten through the impasse of a couple of big issues of one of the boards that I chair in the last month, and it's a great feeling to see the team and the shareholders all, live that joy, and because it's quite challenging, as you well know.
Yeah,
working with people, but yeah, I really enjoy taking on those difficult challenges and helping navigate everyone through them. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Sounds very good, mate. Good on you.
What does success look like to you?
I already mentioned there is, more seeing our client, being less stressful and successful business model.
Yep.
But also giving back to the business community. I've been involved as the treasurer and director of Parramatta Chamber for the past 8 years. Because you're Tasmania based, maybe you're not so sure where Parramatta is, what it means. So Parramatta is most probably second biggest chamber of commerce in New South Wales. Mm-hmm. And we got quite a bit of members, and we got quite a lot of businesses. And obviously, government invested heavily in Parramatta as one of the powerhouse for Greater Western Sydney, yep, which is the largest economy in Australia. So, yep, by giving back to the community, I think, to me, being able to do that successful is, part what I think as a success. The other thing is family life, mate. I set boundary for myself in terms of, unfortunately, from January until now, like all our partners most probably work 12 hours a day, mm-hmm, maybe 5.5 days or 6. But we also have a boundary that we are not going to work 7 days, yep, right? Yep. And we keep our phone off, hour 6:30 and all that. So a bit of work-life balance, can recharge and spend time, with my family. Be able to do that at this stage, obviously I put in the hard yard in the younger days. Yes. so I'm not, like a billionaire or anything, but I'm reasonably comfortable. So I'm not so pressed that, I have to earn so much money, to be able to survive, or have the ambition to, reach certain amount, in the bank and all that. So I can actually have that balance at my life stage now. So I consider that as part of the success to me.
That's good. Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
Marketing. I think, to me, marketing, first of all, you got to really have a marketing strategy, right? Understand what product or services you are selling, why you want to sell them. Obviously, hopefully, there's a demand. And as a result, who are your target customer? Right? And why would they buy from you, which is your value proposition? And very importantly, unless you have to look at it holistically, if you market the wrong product, you're actually going to lose money.
Yep.
Because the gross margin you make is not sufficient to cover all the costs. So once again, you've got to make sure that you market the product or services that will generate enough margin for you to cover your costs and make money. So once you get all that sorted out, obviously, with COVID and all that, accelerated the online social media marketing. Make sure that you know where your customer are and how to reach them and what sort of message you want to, communicate to them. I really think marketing, you should try, all the different touch points. It doesn't mean online social media will work. Obviously, very commonly you and me, most of people advise the same thing with our client. You do some networking with some business group, some chambers. And obviously the best thing is a really referral, from the people, give them good, service, etc. So it is a big topic. But my point is, you cannot just focus on marketing for marketing's sake. You got to understand all those much more strategic point of marketing before you actually embark on marketing. Otherwise, you are just wasting your money and end up losing money.
Absolutely. I remember running a spirits business. And one of the first things I did when I got in there, there was a shit ton of things to do, but I asked our sales manager, show me the margins, how much are we making on. He didn't know. I'm surprised sometimes there's a lot of small businesses just don't know their numbers, even just the margins on the products you're selling. So I quickly did on the back of my envelope and pointed out to him that for every bottle of this spirit product that is sold through our distributors on the mainland, we're actually losing $1 every bottle. So we need to stop that. It's not sustainable, obviously. So unless you've got a handle on your numbers,
100%,
it's a fool's errand. You're just throwing money into the shredder.
Well, Troy, see, I mean, you are so right. Unless the interesting thing is, when we started, most of them, they don't even know their gross margin because they lump all the information together. You got one line for revenue, you got one line on direct costs, and the rest are expenses. And you don't know which product actually give you what gross margin.
Right. Yeah.
You're spot on, mate.
Yeah.
100%.
And how did you fund your business?
Well, for me, it's using the concept of, being agile and shoestring startup. So the way I do it is, when I started with CFO Partners, people talk to me, you say, wow, you got, full flow somewhere, that is normally who you are. I said, no, we actually, have a fully service office and we are being flexible. Our business model actually working with our client where they are, so we can see exactly what is happening. Because, often, Troy, the client say, yeah, we look after our people, they're all happy. You went to their office, they look half dead, tears in their eyes. You say, wow, I don't think they're as happy as you said. We got to work out why and actually talk to them and find out and fix up that people issue, which most probably you will agree is the most critical, to fix.
Definitely. Yep, absolutely. And if you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
I guess I will go into my industry because I have the same big picture objective, that is helping SME to succeed, and as a result, helping the Australian economy. But I know if you got money, of course you got to take a lot of risks. Obviously, IT or biochemical and that area, agricultural area, certainly there's the money should go because there are some risks, but a lot of growth potential, which cannot be matched by some traditional businesses. But that's not what we want. We don't want to make trillions of dollars, but we fix our big objective to help SME.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Well, there's so many of them. Once again, I don't know where to start. I think you after I make some comment, you should share with us as well. One of the most stressful is that this is in a lot of instances, right? The role and responsibility is formed out of necessity when they were very, very small. Just give you an example. Mm-hmm. The husband run the business, they tell the wife to do the books. And then when you have a look at a book, obviously, most of the time, unfortunately, because they are not trained bookkeeper or an accountant, it's an absolute mess.
Yes.
And then you talk to them to say, okay, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. The wife is, oh my God, why this guy talking to us now? Give me more work, right? I can't cope already. So I always tell them, look, don't panic. Obviously, that is one critical area you need to get a handle of, as you said, Troy. but let's get a bookkeeper, right, to help you with our guidance to get it done. As a bookkeeper, is not expensive, but I think your anxiety and not be able to perform and be given more tasks and responsibility to get the book right is going to destroy the relationship and your health.
Yes.
So I think that is actually very common. The other one is, small businesses, one good reason to get you in and get me in is you got external party more or less lead down the rule. So they are not the bad guys, because a lot of them, build a business from, having relative, family and friend in the business, all mates. And then, all of them think they contribute a lot to the business. So as they grow, they actually, the owner actually either reluctant or feel uneasy to enforce certain rules because they are not performing, right?
Yeah.
So when we come, we actually say, okay, look, you are running a business. Obviously, I understand the history. We need to get them on board, put them in the right position if we can, so they can perform. Otherwise, unfortunately, eventually you might say, well, the business grew to the stage that, most probably is not suitable, for them. Because what I'm saying is that you're actually running a business. That's why you let people like you, Troy, to come in, or people come in. And it's not a charity, it's not social.
That's one of my sayings, Eric. We're trying to run a business here, not a fucking charity.
Yeah, good that you agree with it. Absolutely, right? So I just gave you two examples, right? Too numerous. What do you think you find out that is quite challenging?
Well, I think. Well, you may have heard on one of the casts. I know you've listened to a few, but I like to say that I believe the hardest thing in small business is people, and it's where the value is at. So whether that's getting the right investors or shareholders or business partners on board, or it's the management team, or it's the wider team. So I'm still amazed in this day and age that business owners don't invest enough, in my opinion, in becoming better managers. Because it is such a critical part of small business success. So I see that's a big pain point, because we're human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have emotions, shit's going on in people's lives, etc. And not just that, there's just also performance issues. There's recruitment if you haven't got the right people on the bus, as Jim Collins says. So I think that is a big area of distress in small business, and particularly on the shareholder or business partner level as well. I've had, I think now 28 business partners, 14 businesses in 3 countries. So I've seen a lot of stuff, made a lot of mistakes, and there's a lot of things I do differently. But your business partners. Yeah.
I'll agree. That's why we always say, get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus.
Yep.
We normally do 6-month exercise to get everyone done. Obviously, part and parcel, obviously, the right organization structure.
Yep.
Moving forward. And I think we have to look at, they recruit people, the way they retain people, especially under current situation. And, how do you, nurture them to be able to move up and grow with your business as you scale. I think you're 100% right. I cannot agree more than you. In fact, you most probably agree with me. 90% of the businesses that we started with, they have people problem. And they always say, oh, they are no good. Those people are bloody bludgers. They are no good. I say, okay, maybe they are, but have you had a look at yourself?
No, that's right.
How do you manage them, right?
Yep.
And how do you lead them as well? Which is interesting. Yeah,
that's right. And so one of my favorite podcasts that I've listened to for years, it's the #1 downloaded business podcast on the internet called Manager Tools. And Mark, one of the co-hosts, speaks quite often that recruitment is the most important thing a manager does. But he also talks about that if a team member has to leave, if you have to ask them to leave, or they're failing, that's your responsibility, because you've either hired the wrong person, or you've brought them on, haven't supported them or trained them. And so it's, at the end of the day, it's your business, or if you're a manager in that business, someone's business, it's your job to make sure you got the right people and they're performing.
100%. Cannot agree more.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Are you talking about our own business or our
Yeah.
client business?
Yeah.
Well, for our own business, really, we are most probably one of the first SME management consultancy firm focused on future proofing. In fact, we would believe that, we are the leader in the area. So part and parcel of that, really, for us partners, invest enough time to educate ourselves about what is happening around us, and think strategically, how can we, work with our client to make sure that this business is sustainable and they'll be well informed to adapt. If you ever look at the current environment, it's so challenges. You COVID uncertainty, you got supply chain issues because of the lockdown, and then you got HR issue because the concept of vaccination. During COVID, people rethink about the current job, etc., etc. You have inflation that we know is real now, is happening now, that we got to manage. You have cost of funding definitely will increase. In fact, the Big Four bank think that it will be June. And then we got to wear the challenges, raining, so many days and flood and all that. So,
you're in Sydney. You're in Sydney. Sorry, for the audience's context, Sydney got a month's worth of rain yesterday in one day.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I'm not too sure whether it be better or not. Yeah, 100%. Several of the Sydney Luring area is being flooded again.
Yeah.
So we got to I understand like the rain and all that, most probably because of climate change. But what is the strategy to work with them to future-proof their business? We got several areas that we are doing. I'm pretty sure you have as well. For example, we are thinking about how can we manage the rain by maybe if you are in trade services, some of the component you sort of do it in the workshop so you can assemble them rather than do it on site. With the supply chains, how are we going to manage that? Maybe you talk to the supplier, arrange a COD, and give them forward order for 6 months. There are so many different things that in terms of inflation, cost of funding. Obviously, you got to regularly review your costs, and you got to either become more efficient or pass on the cost. Otherwise, you just go broke because there's no margin. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you most probably have similar things that you are giving advice as a board member and all that. So from your perspective, what would that be?
As in managing all those risks.
Yeah.
Well, I think it comes down to working on the business. So having regular, risk. You might have a subcommittee off the board, which is a risk subcommittee or part of the finance subcommittee that you regularly, update the risk matrix. You're thinking about risks and mitigating 1 or 2 risks each month or each quarter, investing a little bit of money. So yeah, it has to become part of the cadence of management, turning their attention to that. It may only be half an hour a month or a quarter, but at least you are thinking about it and start to remove some of those risks.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. So if you have looked at your approach, my approach are similar. We actually have more focus, make sure that the business owners and their management team are aware of risk management much more than before. That's why I always say that, one of the critical skill the business need to have is a project management, because so many moving parts, you've got to be able to manage them to make it work. Yeah, that's quite interesting.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
I don't know. I think, to me, I'm the type of guy that I love challenges. So the more difficult it is, the more I like it, because simple challenge everybody can solve. It, right? Yeah. But the difficult one, they need, your experience, my experience, and knowledge to solve it. That's where, I personally, have to say, bring them on.
Yep. Well, you might be better at answering the next question then. What do you love most about growing a small business?
I think what I love the most is you can see the joy. Once they can see the fruit of their labor as a business owner, they get paid properly. You know it, I know it. I would say 70% of small businesses there, they pay everybody well. Otherwise, nobody work for them. They pay themselves very low.
Yeah.
And in fact, I don't know whether it's a surprise to some of your listeners. A lot of them only taking like, between 50 to 80,000 a year, where the people they employ, they get 150 grand,
Yeah,
100 grand.
That's one of the sayings, the pay yourself first. And there's good reason for that early on. We certainly didn't do that. We did the opposite. Like you were just saying a minute ago, paid ourselves very low amounts. But if you don't force yourself to pay yourself market rates from the start, then all you're doing is propagating a faulty business model, because you're either not charging enough to your clients or you're too inefficient with your costs, etc. So it really forces you to have a hard look at your business and your business model and get that right before you get too big. Otherwise, you've just got this millstone around your neck for the next decade.
Absolutely, great point. I think in total agreement there, Troy.
What's been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
I think the biggest shift is that, look, SME, we are limited in resources. As a result, we're juggling many balls. We tend to have excuses, or, overwork, I don't have time, or this is difficult, that is difficult. But I think if you want to be successful, it's your mindset. You really need to own it as a leader. It's your job as a business owner to lead, make decisions. Obviously, you make mistakes along the way, and be persevere and make it happen. That's it. As you said before, in the more people management, if your business fails, you're gonna say, "Oh, gee, it's my, the warehouse manager screw things up." Yep. "Oh, gee, sales marketing guy, they're just no good, right? The strategy doesn't work. It's not much lead. Oh, gee, the customer service, that is bad apple, right?" No, you got to fix them up. You got to lead and fix them up. And fair comment though, they do need help. That's where, people like you, I'm pretty sure 100%, your client appreciate it, to be their advisory board and advisor. And people like us, we are doing the thinking, the planning and doing and actually making it work. Is quite important, because they got to realize they cannot do it on their own. Like big corporation, they got all the resources. SME, they don't. They should not be afraid to go out there, seek the appropriate help.
What is the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
That's a really tough question. I think number one habit is, I think they got to be really optimistic. They got to say, okay, they normally follow night, and there is always a silver lining. You cannot just give up because bloody coffee comes. You say, sorry, but the technical term there, and you say, shut the business down. Right? You got to say, all right, what do I need to do, and to make it happen, and during COVID, or when we restart the business COVID. I think that is being optimistic is so important, so you can be persevere and you don't give up.
Yep. Find it hard to define a clear strategy, then communicate it and execute it alongside the rest of your team? Or you currently don't work a simple quarterly strategic plan to boost your team's performance? Our Business Growth Formula online course is perfect for small business owners with 5 to 30 team members wanting to grow. We share the mindsets, habits and tools to be a legendary leader in your business. growsmallbusiness.com. Can you talk about how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening? You've obviously got a lot of experience hiring and managing people, both in big and small business.
Yeah, I think I've learned along the way. I still, believe and practice that you just don't hire people based on qualification, and record and experience. It is really the attitude, and whether the attitude fit into your corporate culture.
Yep.
Troy, for example, they could be one of the best sales guy, won all the award and earning big bucks.
But if they're an asshole, they're going to make the...
Exactly. If the way they do it is not ethical, but that's not our culture, right? It's actually going to bite ourselves, because obviously we lose our identity and our brand will be destroyed. So, yeah. Let
me just read you a quote. I saw this the other day, and I've chucked it in my giant quote document I've got here. In toxic cultures, people get promoted for results even if they destroy relationships. Abuse is a high price to pay for performance. In healthy cultures, no level of individual excellence justifies undermining people. You're not a high performer if you don't elevate others. That's Adam Grant.
Yes, yes. I think that is very pertinent quote, and I think is so relevant in terms of people management. What is your comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so obvious, but that other saying, it might be common sense, but not always common practice. Some people just stick with, they may be an A player in their performance, but if they're not a nice person to be around and other team members are leaving, there's a hidden cost there. I read that, I think it was a Harvard article years ago saying they estimate about 10 times the cost the annual wage of a person leaving is what the true cost is to the business, with lost momentum, customer service, intellectual property leakage, training and everything like that. So you've got to manage that culture wisely, otherwise you will pay for it.
100%. That's where I think the value of engaging people like you and me, to be so-called the bad guy.
Yeah.
They say, all right, we engage this, people with some expertise to, move the business forward. And one of the advice, I normally do a HR metrics, in terms of performance and culture. And then, the one that perform highly but low in cultural fit, actually tell them, and they move that person out or can change that. It's very hard to change them.
Yep.
Better off to get rid of them, otherwise it's going to poison the rest of the the people. They say, well, I want to earn a lot of money, I also want to be like him or her, can do whatever I want, right? That's basically it.
Yeah, that's right. Because your other A players are looking at you for leadership, and if you don't act on that bad apple, then they're going to leave.
100%.
What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
You're talking about the culture?
Yeah.
I think there are several things in there. Obviously, first and foremost, I think, they got to be customer centric. If they don't want to understand, look after the customer, I think there is no business.
Yeah.
Okay? And the other thing is most probably, quite important in that perspective is, I think you need to have an empathy. People got problems. Every one of us different. We got our own issues, and we talk to them or whatever. We always convey the way we feel from what we have experienced. You cannot say, oh gee, what an idiot, oh gee, where does it come from or whatever. They say there is a reason behind it. If you at least acknowledge why they are angry and try to understand and try to resolve it, I think it'll do yourself a lot of favor, because you don't get upset and angry and feel stressed and might cause a mental issue down the track, because you think everybody's having a go at you.
Yep.
And you feel, much more relief that you can help them. I think, most probably the way I see it, there are so many things. Obviously, you got can-do attitude, team player and all that. But if I want to pick the top two, those are the top two.
Yep. And you've spoken a little bit about balance already. Anything else you want to comment on balance?
I guess sometimes balance is a concept. I also understand, especially you and me, when we work with business owners at the beginning, I always tell them, look, unfortunately, talking about work-life balance, most probably a bit more imbalance, because you learn new things, you got to change few things. That's why you get us in. So you got to put in time and effort. But I say, in the longer term, you'll start to see when you systemize your business, you get your structure right, everything is working. Obviously you can spend less time and you can delegate and all that. Life would be much better. But at the beginning, talking about balance, we always alert our new client that at the beginning, most probably, things will get worse before get better. As the saying is, no pain, no gain, I guess.
Yep. And you mentioned professional development before. So how much have you invested in yourself over the years? Sounds like it's been quite a bit.
Yeah, I would say maybe, around 15% on average, we spend on professional development. Various form. We attend a lot of advanced think tank, whether it's by professional body, government bodies, or advanced seminars and webinar about what is happening and this trend and that trend. So we have to look at that. We like to attend the futurist sort of seminars and meeting and all that, because, we position ourselves as, one of the best in future proofing. So we got to be, quite aware of a lot of these things.
And have you had mentors or coaches along the way yourself?
Not necessarily. I guess, my colleagues and, some of the CEO when I was working, certainly I look up to them in terms of, I guess, nurturing me. And I don't have formalized coach or anything like that.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors?
Yep. Our partners, we meet regularly. We discuss not only about our business, we actually spend 80% of time discussing our client businesses. Just to me, that's the right focus. You got to iron out some of the challenges and through discussion, come up with a new creative solution for our clients.
All right, Eric, we're on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
The hardest thing is the business owner's mindset.
Yep.
Okay, a lot of them think, oh, I can't afford to spend money. I can't afford to get people to do things. They are stuck in doing everything themselves. So I think first, if you're serious about it, have the right mindset, which is the growth mindset. Okay, I'm good at certain things. If I'm serious, want to move forward, I've got to focus on what I'm good at and outsource, get the best people available to get the job done. I think that is a must. Otherwise, believe me or not, I think most of you will agree, Troy.
Yep.
They are going to be where they are because that's the way it is.
Yeah, that's it. Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
I'm not too sure where this business book, but actually like, The Art of War by
Sun Tzu.
Yeah, Sun Tzu. Most of you know that one, which is quite.
I've got one of my favorite quotes here because I knew we were going to talk about strategy. If I can read that out. No, that's not. Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. And that's in my top 3 quotes. It's from Sun Tzu, from The Art of War.
Yes, 100%. I love that book. Obviously, I think Sun Tzu was around 500 BC. But as you and me know, a lot of his sort of military strategy been adopted by, like people like Napoleon and some Western commander.
Yep.
I think my own saying that I love is running a business without a solid business strategy is like going to war without a great weapon.
Yep.
You are destined to lose.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Another that you actually mentioned already, right, which is the financial literacy. Similarly, running your business without a clear financial roadmap means that you're running blind. Yep.
Now, I'm a big believer, not just because I'm a numbers guy, but from experience, as I spoke at a conference on the weekend for brewers and distillers, I believe your financial model or your business model, which is backed by your financial model, is the backbone of a successful business. Because if you don't know your numbers, and particularly keeping an eye on cash, a lot of profitable businesses go out of business because they haven't kept an eye on their cash or their margins.
100%.
Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
Not particular, in any particular. But, I often, go through LinkedIn, which is, I think, good resource. And then now and then got really good podcasts. Obviously, my connections, I had looked at a few of your podcasts, which is quite interesting. and I think that's the way, we do it. And, I think it's quite interesting, though, like, I don't know whether you are agreeing with me or not, Troy. I know we are going to run out of time soon. As a business strategist, which is who I am, it's so important for us to, create a clear business strategy that gives them direction how to compete in the current market and environment. But one of the problems is that not many small and medium businesses understand what strategy is and why it's important and how to go about it. It could be a different podcast. We should explore it, and, between you and me. I believe, as you said, you just give a quote about strategy.
Yep.
I give another quote there. I think there's also one thing that, lack of understanding and clarity for SME. Obviously, large business, all of them have them,
Yeah.
And yeah, that is an interesting discussion maybe for another day.
Yes. One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
One tool,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a must, but not often have, is a solid business strategy, how to compete.
Yep.
You need to have a business strategy, all right? If you don't, piecemeal basis, you're not going to go anywhere. You're only as good as your weakest link.
Yep. Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
Well, it's going to be a tough and rough journey, and enjoy the ride.
That's great. Thank you, Eric, very much for your time today. Started about 7 years ago with 6 team members, up to around 10 now, out there helping a lot of other small business owners, not just add value to their business, but take stress out of their lives and their business as well. So I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for sharing your war story and your experience and knowledge. Very much appreciated, Troy. And good to have a chat with you.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.